I'm with you.
Yeah, I do the
Do
same thing.
tell me about you. I've read. I'm so into the RV thing, but you
Okay.
share a little bit about you. I was fascinated when I read all about you.
Sure. Well, okay. So where shall we start? It is there's a lot of twists and turns, but I grew up in New England. I grew up in Boston, and then moved to Ohio at a certain point. My family moved around a little bit. I went to so I grew up. I mean, I know my friend, you're a deep South Southern lady, and that's okay. I am
That's
very
all
much a
right.
deep-seated Yankee, Irish Catholic Yankee, right? And so I grew up learning about Kennedy, and I grew up learning about the Kennedys in general. And it was a dream of mine to join the Peace Corps and to serve in the Peace
Oh,
Corps. And I spent all of my all my college years attempting to get into the Peace Corps. And
what?
and by that, what I mean by that is I went to all the info sessions and I learned as much as I could about the Peace Corps and the application process and what it would take to have a good application to the Peace Corps, because I did not want to get denied what that would do for me. And I ended up getting in the Peace Corps, and I was sent to stationed in Mauritania, West Africa, which is
Wow.
the Sahara Desert. It's a massive country, but it is all Sahara.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was crazy. So, like, again, my little New England body, not used to the heat. It was about 130 degrees on a cold day there. So, I mean, I can remember very definitively waking up in the middle of one night, because we would sleep outside because it was exponentially colder and cooler to sleep outside. Cooler like, hey, but also cooler like, ooh, nice. So we would sleep outside, and it was I looked at I was freezing one night, and I grabbed a towel to like give myself a blanket, because at that point I wasn't used to having blankets, but it was so cold, and it was 88 degrees. And my body had already kind of started to acclimate to that heat, but it didn't go great because I ended up with dysentery. And
Oh,
I was trying to drink water and it wouldn't stay in my body. I was trying to eat food and it wouldn't stay in my body. I ended up with dysentery 3 times in a row, just back to back to back. I would like start to get better and then just get worse again.
good heavens.
Dysentery, it's no joke, no joke.
No. Oh, wow.
So,
Well, speaking of jokes, when did you decide to enter into the comedy world?
well, that's exactly what happened. Is when I was in the Peace Corps, I got finally sent to the infirmary, and I was making. So prior to this, I was looking to go into the State Department. I had studied language, I had studied international relations, I had studied politics, and when I was in the infirmary, I was making everybody giggle. It just kind of what was because that was how I was dealing with my stress. I had always
Yeah.
just made people laugh. I was just kind of the thing that I did, and the volunteers would come and visit me every day, and I was like, oh, this is so kind that everybody's coming to say hi. And one of my friends sat on my bed one time and was just like, you're making everybody giggle, and that's kind of what you do, and you do it very well. Do you realize what you're doing though? And I was like, oh, what do you mean? He's like, well, you're helping us escape from what we're dealing with by making us
Oh,
laugh, and you're escaping from what you're dealing with in the same way. Wouldn't you be better served and serve the world in a better way if you just did comedy? And I was like, what in
nice.
the world are you talking about? So he told me about Second City in Chicago. He encouraged me to do stand up, and I did not want to do stand up. I'm not interested in being the only person on stage. Well, ironically, because now I'm a speaker and it's literally the same thing. But at the time, I wasn't interested in standing on stage by myself. And he talked me into going to Chicago and checking out Second City. And so when I got sent home from Peace Corps for recovery, I was getting ready to reenlist in the Peace Corps and getting ready to go to a slightly colder climate country. And I moved to Chicago with a backpack and a duffel bag. And I stayed at a hostel for a few days. And then one of my friends from the Peace Corps said, I've got a house in Lincoln Park. Why don't you just stay there until you're on your feet? Because
Wow.
everyone in the Peace Corps knew what I was doing, because we were sending messages back and forth because they were very close friends of mine at that point. And I started studying comedy in a very real way, almost like a graduate program. I did the conservatory at Second City, and I ended up on tour and toured the country for a long time and worked for all the big
Gracious.
theaters in Chicago, and that was 20 years ago. So I've been
Wow.
doing professional comedy since, in improv and sketch comedy, and writing TV commercials and all sorts of stuff like that.